First day of November 2021. It's my pleasure to have you this morning. A beautiful Monday. I hope you had a great weekend and looking forward to a great week ahead. Arise and shine. It is time where we begin the day, taking a look at what is happening in the world of news and most importantly, having great conversations pertaining to different matters. So it's good to have you this morning. And what's important is that you're also part and parcel of this conversation. I'll be telling you how in a few. My name is Linda Alela and this is Morning Cafe. So much happening as pertaining to politics and also the global fraternity. It is officially that time where, of course, the world convenes to address the matters of climate. And of course, we'll be looking at that briefly, engaging one of the guests that will be on the other end so that at least we get to know what is happening and what way forward after the G20 meeting that was set, and all these leaders or key leaders in the global fraternity committing so much so to address matters climate change. So welcome on board as we look at also what is happening in the country in terms of politics. The One Kenya Alliance promising that now they hit the ground, and importantly they'll be telling us who will be the flag bearer soonest possible. So we'll be looking at all this conversation, but above everything we engage our guests on this matter of succession politics. And the question is, as President Uhuru Kenyatta says, he has a legacy to protect. I mean, the country has a legacy to protect in terms of what the former president did. That is Mwai Kibaki, the 10 years that he had and the 10 years of President Uhuru Kenyatta. He says he would not wish to leave the country to a person who's a thief or a person who will not continue with a good legacy, and so has challenged the common mwananchi that even as you go out there and cast that vote, make sure it is based on ideology. We'll be looking at that. That is in the name of succession politics later on as we get to hear the view of the guests this morning. Above everything, we'll be looking at matters health, and we just get to understand more on diabetes and of course diet. Really important conversation because diabetes is crucially about how best you're able to eat so that you can manage the condition. So make sure that you are here so that at least we have that conversation. And above everything, we'll also be looking at matters beauty later on in terms of making sure that you look all good. Some of the procedures that you have to go through, simple procedures that are pretty much affordable, but will give you a lifetime experience or a lifetime change in how you look. So karibu sana. Make sure that you are engaging with us. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. I'll be sampling some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. First things first, the newspapers, and then later on we get to engaging the guests. The first papers that we have here, or the papers that we have this morning, the Standard newspaper, the People Daily, and the Daily Nation. And so the People Daily, let's look at it briefly as to what it is that has been captured on the People Daily. And the People Daily, front page of the People Daily: Dance of the Safari Sevens champions, and Kenya's Shujaa and Lionesses teams both won the 23rd version of the Safari Sevens held at Nyayo Stadium over the weekend. Congratulations to them. They continue to do us proud. This even as this particular docket, suffers hugely, as questions are as to what exactly the government is doing to make sure that at least that our sportsmen and women, as the welfare is well catered for, but above everything, they make sure that at least the game is taken to another level. We celebrate them. We all watched that. I hope you did. If you did not, you can always get a recap of the same. But indeed, they did a good thing. Mystery surrounds missing terror convict, a story of Elgiva Bwire, a conversation that has been captured on page 7. And of course, investigations continue on as of course there's still mystery as to where this terror convict has disappeared to. And on matters elections or matters politics in the country, IEBC, and here we are, ministers cited in IEBC 40 billion tender wars. Well, the cabinet secretary, commissioner with the electoral body and former senior officials said to be behind moves to stall procurement processes of the ballot material. The story captured on page 6. Time is running out according to the IEBC boss, and we are getting worried over this tendency by some interested parties to rush into the courts and the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board to stop any slight move we make the procurement processes. Remember, the other day we just said that, well, IEBC had set up to know what body will be giving us this these particular papers and who will actually win the process. And of course, it was out here in the public domain, but then again, the coming in of the challenges brings a big question as to whether, well, IEBC then is functioning on an independent level, or indeed, as they would say, there's some element of state capture. We'll be looking at this conversation as IEBC continues to complain that they are underfunded, and even worse, they have not been able to meet the target, the 7 million target of more registered voters into the docket, or into the at least the number of voters that we already have, the 19 million voters. Of course, they were supposed to top up around 7 or thereabout, but in vain. We'll be looking at this conversation, and we ask ourselves what way forward as we proceed with matters election preparedness. That is, of course, as we look forward to 2022. Will not be pushed into backing Raila, Mudavadi says. Well, defiant ANC leader says voters should have a free hand at polls whose results must reflect people's wishes. And that is the conversation as to the One Kenya Alliance and what they're doing in terms of preparing themselves for the general election. It's a story captured on page 4. So much is taking center stage as to these changes that we are likely to see culminating. And so we'll be following up keenly to know whether the One Kenya Alliance then will shelve their interest so that they would back Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and whether it's going to be a coalition or not. This, as President Uhuru Kenyatta has constantly been seen, or trying to at least get to speak to them and to tell them how important it would be for them to work as a coalition. Otherwise, they would leave it, in broad daylight for the UDA camp to actually get to win the 2022 general election. And all eyes on Glasgow as the COP26 climate meeting begins. A story captured on page 13. As I have said, one of my guests will be attending this, or will be, of course, down there so that they can be following up on the event. And I hope they would be able to paint a picture of what to expect as we continue with the broadcast. Those are the key stories captured on the newspaper. That is the front page. And on page 2, which is also a key story, NHIF calls meeting after APRO over dialysis cover. Fund proposes reducing cover for kidney treatment by about 3,000. A move many say will reverse the gains that we have made so far. It's a conversation that is on, and we still continue to ask or to seek questions, to seek answers as to the same. And so we'll be keenly following up on that. Still on matters health, patients owe Kenyatta National Hospital over about 700 million, says the auditor. The Auditor General Nancy Gathungu has questioned the recoverability of millions of shillings owed to Kenyatta National Hospital by patients and the National Hospital Insurance Fund, and whether then this entity would be able to function. Those are the key stories that are captured on the front page of the People Daily, the Standard newspaper here. Why Kalonzo won't be Raila running mate, and a push to have ODM leader pick a deputy from vote-rich Mount Kenya, leaving the Wiper leader that is without major role, is causing jitters among Kalonzo's allies and is stumbling block to Kenyatta-led negotiation. A story captured on page 4. As I have said, there's been negotiation to see to it whether, well, Jubilee Party, One Kenya Alliance and ODM then would come to work together. This, as One Kenya Big Day, of course, was witnessed in Kiambu County. And above everything, there was that conversation on what they're going to do moving forward to make sure that at least they're able to declare who's going to go it for presidency under the One Kenya Alliance banner. Of course, this is what played out in Githurai yesterday, as very many Kenyans came on board to speak and to engage with these particular leaders. Best of the best in regards to the 42-kilometer Stanchart Nairobi Marathon. And the winners are Elisha Kiprop Banu and Valentine Kip Keter. Congratulations to them. And those are the key stories that have been captured. Students injured in Buruburu school fire, story captured on page 3. We have seen what played out there as the fire broke. This incident, one that has been castigated, and investigations are still on as to what could have caused the same. A story captured on page 3 of the Standard newspaper. And we also look at what is on the front page of the Daily Nation. And the Daily Nation, the unlikely kingmaker, party has advised Kalonzo to cast his lot with winning team. We'll be looking at this conversation. Race to the State House is what is on. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who insists he will not play second fiddle to anyone. is being quoted by both Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga as they target the estimated 2 million votes from Eastern Kenya. A story captured on page 4. We'll be looking at this conversation later on as we get to see what plays out in regards to matter succession. And Ruto alleges use of blackmail and intimidation to influence the elections. On this other hand, One Kenya Alliance stand is that One Kenya Alliance leaders say they will name their flag bearer in about 8 weeks. And so we'll be keenly following up to see what plays out. And on the northeastern side, there's been some bit of a rebrand, and we also understand very well how they are keen on the negotiation, politics, and leaders and are out here. They say leaders from northern Kenya revamp UDM for 2022. We've seen different regions trying to realign themselves and also coming up with outfits that would allow their regions also, on the table, so that at least when conversations as to how we shape the nation are on, then these particular regions are not left out. And like I said, we'll also be keenly following up on what is playing at Glasgow, so that at least we also get to keep you up to times. Climate action standing up to be counted. And Right Honorable Raila Odinga's big day right here, making it official. Well, he has been mobilizing support across the country, throwing hints that he could possibly be going out there for the top seat. But then, of course, we finally expect that he gives us this particular declaration, and we'll announce a political meeting that is on the December of 9th. All this is what is playing out here. We'll be looking at that. On matters education on the other side, a CBC training schedule to high school teachers ready, or CBC training schedule for high school teachers is ready. Enrollment expected to swell owing to the 2023 double intake. All this we'll be looking at as we continue with the broadcast. Once again, the hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela at TV47KE. Those are the key stories that we have, and we'll be looking at them. Meanwhile, as we prepare, we are here set to look at what it is that my team has prepared in terms of news. And we have so much that has been captured on the papers, and so much also that my team has worked on. And so we briefly look at that before I get then to engage my guests this morning. As we hold it right here, I think we are preparing the same. So it's only important that we take a quick breather. And as we take this particular breather, then I will be coming with more as pertaining to what it is that my team has prepared. And I also get to engage Professor, who is on standby already in studio. We're expecting also two doctors, Dr. Masanga and Dr. Justice, as we get to this crucial conversation. So we take a quick breather. Once again, the hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela at TV47KE. And we'll be looking at all that and sampling some of your comments as we continue.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording, but anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC Nighting with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Undertaking husband duties on a boyfriend tender.
Guys, with bromance, do you share your woman with the bro?
Have a sister, give me your sister. I show you how these things are done.
So you go release and be like,
Men supporting each other, not only financially, but also socially.
Don't mingle with women you can't deal with.
Is there really a formula for dating and marriage?
Some men are procreational, some men are recreational.
Every Wednesday on TV47, the Men's Conference brings you a cocktail of top-notch advice to breed alpha males for alpha females in the society.
Tunaweza tumia ite nje tutrace hiyo do. Mimi naitwa Ben. Mimi ndo rafiki ya babako.
Tumeleta dozi zako usimize mtoto.
And now we have to deal with a drug addict.
Yani ulio mzai wako.
I had to.
Sema! Dozi zangu ziko wapi?
Ben!
Tuisheni Uganda.
The road to 2022 is becoming tough and tricky.
Well, now let's get to the stories. And Deputy President William Ruto has yet again accused his opponents of threats and intimidation in an attempt to block his 2022 presidential bid. Ruto spoke while addressing rallies in Kajiado County after attending a church service at Paul Kirubi tells us.
In a thinly veiled attack aimed at President Uhuru Kenyatta and his allies, Deputy President William Ruto has yet again warned his opponents of trying to use intimidation, blackmail and threats against his 2022 presidential bid of succeeding President Kenyatta.
Tafadhali, tuache blackmail, tuache threats, tuache intimidation, tuache kuuzia watu uoga. Wakenya wamekataa mambo ya blackmail, threats na kuuzia watu waoga ama kuuzia watu uoga.
Tunaomba rais wetu Uhuru Kenyatta afuate huyo mtindo wa Rais Mwai Kibaki, hata yeye akimie, amalize wakati wake ule umebaki mwezi 9, asituambie tutaenda wapi, atuachie nafasi tuchague yule kiongozi ambaye tunapenda.
His remarks coming just days after President Uhuru Kenyatta told Kenyans not to elect thieves in the coming polls. In his speech in Ruiru on Friday, President Kenyatta said such leaders will water down his legacy and that of former President Mwai Kibaki. Ruto further calling on leaders with smaller political parties to fold them to join his UDA outfit, which he says is a national party.
Saa hizi wabunge 155 tayari ni members wa UDA from all corners of Kenya. Hiyo ndio mpango yetu ya kuunganisha Wakenya, kutengeneza chama ya kitaifa ambayo itawashirikisha Wakenya wote. Wapinzani wetu wajieleze. Hizi chama zao mingi ya kabila hii na hii na hii wataunganisha Kenya kwa njia gani?
Mudavadi ameangaishwa kabisa. Paka ikakuja alipoenda Kakamega, machozi kamtoka, akasema I am being forced, being coerced, being intimidated, physically, emotionally, threats, kuunga mkono ule mzee wa kitandawili akuwe rais wa Kenya.
However, Ruto allies have called on Odinga to concede defeat if he will lose in the coming polls.
Ninaomba tu Baba Raila Amolo Odinga akuje public, asema akishindwa akubali.
The second in command held political rallies at Ilasi Town, Kajiado County, after attending a church service at Kimana Christ the King Catholic Church and the AIC Church Loitoktok, Kajiado County.
Amen.
Paul Kirubi, TV47, Nairobi.
The UDA! UDA!
Well, One Kenya Alliance principals have scoffed at the possibility of forming an alliance with ODM leader Raila Odinga, led by ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi. The leaders say Kenyans should be given an opportunity to choose a leader of their choice and not one imposed by individuals. The principals claim they won't be coerced into another coalition amid claims that President Uhuru Kenyatta has advised them to throw their weight behind Odinga.
The One Kenya Alliance principals Sunday took to Thika town, where they attended a Sunday service at the ATG Chapel before holding rallies in different towns along the Thika Superhighway. Led by ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, the alliance has downplayed any efforts to try and coerce them to join an alliance with other candidates amid claims that President Uhuru Kenyatta is pressurizing them to join hands with ODM leader Raila Odinga ahead of the 2022 presidential poll.
Tuachane na porojo ya watu kujaribu kutushurutisha na kusema ni lazima awe hule ama ule. Nilisema hayo nikiwa Kakamega, na mimi narudia hapa na nitarudia kila pahali. The leadership comes from the people and the people must decide. Kwa hivyo chukua kura, you are the one to decide who is going to be the leader of this country. Not a few leaders seated somewhere and imagining that they shall decide who shall be Kenya's leaders. We want this to be determined by the ordinary voter in every part of the 47 counties.
But you have chosen to work together.
The alliance principals, who include Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, and Gideon Moi of KANU, have outlined their plans to rejuvenate the economy by promising to cut down taxes, create employment, and solve the ills bedeviling Kenyans, including the high cost of living and alarming insecurity.
Punguza ushuru marudufu by 50%. Tukifanya hivyo, hawaile inaitwa gross domestic product. Uchumi wa Kenya utakuwa marudufu. Ndio tunasema uchumi marudufu.
Sisi kama wanaoka tunataka kupunguza mzigo wa ushuru kwa mwananchi. Saizi hata mwana bodaboda ushuru analipa, muuza mtumba ushuru analipa, mpaka hata hivi karibuni wataanza kulipisha ushuru kwa kila mtu, hata wasichana wetu.
The high cost of living, the insecurity, the lack of jobs, unemployment for our youth, the medicine, dawa, your hero will be found under the umbrella of Oka.
Mudavadi has faulted the government for its insatiable desire of borrowing amid a bloated wage bill, hence burdening Kenyans the more. Oka has promised to create millions of jobs and caution the youth against embracing the culture of handouts, accusing the deputy president of enslaving the young people by giving out handouts instead of treating the root cause, which is unemployment.
Nataka Wakenya wafahamu kwamba serikali haina pesa zake binafsi. Serikali inatoa pesa kwa mwananchi wa kawaida. Wakikopa zaidi, ushuru unaongezeka. Wakiiba zaidi, ushuru unaongezeka. Wakipora zaidi, ushuru unaongezeka.
Leo unauza mbuzi, unauza ng'ombe kusomesha mtoto. Alafu unaambia mtoto, sasa kuja uanze kupigana na mama yako kuuza mboga, ajugiranwera. Tulisomesha watoto wapate kazi muhimu ili maisha yetu ibadilike.
Oka also wants the National Assembly to allocate more funds to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) to facilitate the extension of the ongoing mass voter registration, which is coming to a close in 2 days. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
And a section of leaders from Northeastern have now vowed to popularize the United Democratic Movement Party as the region's party. Led by Mandera Governor Ali Roba, the leaders say the party will address the issues of the people from the region. Now, the move comes just days after another party, UPIA, was launched by other leaders from the region, led by Treasury CS Ukurietani.
And its base is 70% of this country. It's good to say, and this is now for the people who are here, and for the people who come from that region that are going to be the base of this party, is that we want to consolidate all the parties from that region and be on the table.
Through session of paper number 10 of 1965, we were discriminated. It was official. No investment was allowed to go to northern Kenya. And therefore that marginalization has really taken a toll on us. So even the piece of cake we've just gotten may not be enough, to catch up with the rest of the country.
This region is grossly underdeveloped and is associated with insecurity and many other challenges. I have been a member of parliament for 9 years, and in my observation, I feel that the problem of northern Kenya basically boils down to underdevelopment. That is the single biggest underlying thing in our region.
I just want to invite you, as a small party, please, when you grow, come and join us. Join us and ensure that we form the next government. I would want a situation, because the name UDM and the name of the party from my region is almost similar.
As I look at what you're doing here today, I see this move as a last mile connection in our politics. Correct?
There has not been any benefit that accrued to us by only getting cabinet position or PS, CAS for that matter. What we are looking at, we come together, crystallize our issues, and be able to make sure that whoever we engage with in terms of the presidential aspirants, we have crystallized our issues and we engage them to mainstream our issues. For example, in 9 years as a governor, over 20 key investors have come to Mandera, and they had to go back because we don't have sufficient power supply.
And a section of political leaders from Garissa and Wajir counties now want the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to extend the period of registering voters to another month. As at the same time now, the Service Party leader Mwangi Kiunjuri is urging youth to register as voters, as it is their democratic right to choose the leaders they want.
5154 81.
2nd November 2021 is the last day of the ongoing month-long mass voter registration by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The exercise has been running for a month, and it was targeted at new voters who received their identity cards in the last 4 years. Now, a section of political leaders are urging the IEBC to extend the period of registration by 30 more days, saying the commission has fallen short of its target.
It is a reality. We are not able to meet the targets they have set up for themselves, and we need them to try and see that we register as many new voters so that Kenyans can be allowed to exercise their democratic rights and vote leaders of their choice.
The numbers that we have been receiving from this region, specifically Wajir County, is very, very reasonable. So my appeal will be directly to IEBC for the extension of this exercise, or for the planning, or for them to plan for a mass registration early next year.
People must be registered in time. They must be registered in their localities, considering the fastness of the land, considering the drought. There must be mechanisms to reach those people, which is lacking at the moment. So we are appealing that IEBC must go back to the drawing board and come up with a mechanism to register, especially pastoralists.
Meanwhile, the Service Party leader Mwangi Kiunjuri is urging youth to register as voters, as it is their democratic right to choose the leaders they want.
They should also know that there are people who are demoralizing them, who do not want them to register as voters. Reason, because they don't know how the youth will behave and whom they will vote for. And therefore, because it's a vote that cannot be decided where they will go, some people are very happy that they are not registering.
We want to tell the chairman of IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, to take charge of electoral matters and stop inviting busybodies to come to IEBC meetings of planning elections. CS Matiang'i has no qualification, has no knowledge on how to run an election. CS Mucheru, his job is to ensure that the transmission network is there, and that is where his job ends. Mambo ati IBC wanafanya mkutano kupanga uchaguzi na Matiang'i ameketi hapo na Mucheru ameketi hapo, sisi tumekataa.
The leaders also want IEBC to establish mobile registration centers for all pastoralist communities who are on the move in search of pasture. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Well, the story by Sharon Baranga and the next one by Musa Salah will form the basis of our conversation this morning. And here we go. With barely 2 months to the 2022 campaigns, presidential hopefuls have intensified their bid to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. And at the center of the race to State House is 26 million votes. According to the electoral body IEBC, everywhere they go, presidential candidates pull crowds. And that crowd measures one's popularity and acceptance across the country. But as Musa Salah now reports, in this week's episode of 2022 Game Plan, crowds barely count at the ballot.
Long motorcades, curious crowds and luxurious cars with popped-up sunroofs have been painting the streets of several towns across the country. A picture that tells it all, that the campaign season has just begun. UDA! Despite social media opening up spaces for political candidates to engage with voters in more direct ways, the greatest attraction for politicians still remains the large number of crowds they pull, with political experts scaling the crowd against a candidate's influence and popularity.
You have so many people attending your meetings doesn't necessarily translate into votes. There are those who come because they've been paid, and there are those who come because they are curious, and there are those who come out because they believe in that person who has organized for that line.
There are people who also wait to see where is the wave going? Where are the majority of the people looking at? So they pull others. So crowd, yes, it is important in politics because it helps you pull others, all right? But remember, not everybody in that crowd will vote for you. So the votes and the crowd is not a linear relationship.
According to pundits, not all crowds are supporters, and some are likely to just make away with the goodies their idols have brought, a risk that presidential candidates have to battle with. But according to veteran politician and nominated Member of Parliament Maina Kamanda, one must see through the hearts of the members of his crowds to persuade them.
Today, what may be valid today may not be tomorrow. So politics is very dynamic, very fluid, and this campaign time, you can be sure any aspirant, wherever he goes, he'll attract a crowd. Not because they love him or they believe in him. They want to hear what he has to say first.
And that is why you see that in the next couple of months, you'll see intense campaign. Intense campaign in this context that you must reach to as many followers as possible, as supporters.
Big crowds are important in that if you talk to them and convince them, that crowd can be translated into votes. But occasionally the crowd does not mean votes. In fact, you may have people in the crowd who will dislike you because of the way you have talked to them.
Ni lazima uone upendo wa watu. Kiona program watu wamejaa hapa, ni lazima utawaona wako namna gani kwa roho zao. Kuna wale wanakuja tu kuona huyo mtu, lakini kuna wale ambao haja zao ni kupeana kura kwa baba. Na vile nimeona wale watu ambao tumetembea na baba, tumesunguka, wale watu wanakuja hapa Central wakiungana na baba, ni wale wataumpa baba kura.
How significant the numbers are at the ballot, however, is a different story altogether. For example, in both the 2007 and the 2013 general elections, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was the most popular of the presidential candidates, but came in second, losing to former President Mwai Kibaki and President Uhuru Kenyatta respectively.
202, 207, most of the time the numbers that Right Honorable Raila Odinga had a lot of and huge crowd, but that didn't translate to vote.
In politics, you have to have more than numbers. And personally, we all know what happened in 07. The winner was the loser, but whoever was declared the winner had lost in the ballot. And I think it's important to realize that elections are supposed to be free and fair, but the rhetorical question would be, are they ever free and fair?
But at the end of the day, the Kenyan people know they will make their decision. And that's why we say we vote by secret ballot. We don't vote by counting the number of people in a rally.
So far, Deputy President William Ruto and his new political vehicle, the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, seem to be ahead on the race to State House next year, with Ruto making inroads in President Kenyatta's Mount Kenya backyard. According to opinion polls, Odinga's Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, comes in second at 22%, with President Kenyatta's Jubilee Party coming in third in Mount Kenya with 10%.
You know, William Ruto has been on a campaign for the last 4 years. The other candidates have just begun. So I guess every day things change. And that's the purpose of politics.
He has been around for some time. And therefore, that is why he has been able to garner that popularity. But whether he will sustain that popularity between now and August remains to be seen, because we don't know what might happen when other contestants come out and they roll out their campaigns.
And by then, it was popular the whole country. But at the end of that 1982, Matiba came in, and it is splitted down to the earth there. And what happened? Our popularity of DP went down, and who was popular by then came up to be Matiba. So about popularity, it go with time.
With other presidential hopefuls yet to launch their campaigns and engage a shifting gear in the political landscape, similar to the 1992 general election, Ruto is faced with another headache, choosing between his die-hard allies who have been implicated in serious graft cases and appeasing his supporters, thousands of whom have been mesmerized by his wit and bottom-up economic model.
People will always come and say, so-and-so is with so-and-so and so-and-so. And we know so-and-so is a person of this character. I will not vote for that person. So that's also another thing. And if you look at it, you will see that the presidential candidates who are front runners, even as we go forward, you see they redefine their teams that are with them. Some of those known faces will have to take a back seat because people have already formed an opinion about them. So you'll have to work with a new team that voters can therefore say, well, I cannot really pinpoint the bad thing about so and so. They would therefore give them a vote.
Mbona wakosane saa hii wakati watu kama sisi hatukuwa kwa ile NASA na saa hii ndio tunawaletea kula yetu? Sasa si ndio wangetaka waungane zaidi kwa sababu hawakuwa na kura yetu, saa hii wanakula yetu, tunawaletea kula. Mbona wakosane saa hii? Ni kusema kunaye ambao hata kwa roho yake hata wakati hiyo ingine ya NASA bado walikuwa nataka baba anguke, kienda kuanguka mpaka dakika ya mwisho aonekane hatapata. Kwa sababu sasa hii ndio wakati wa baba.
Musa Salah, TV 47.
Well, the Thika Main and Women Prison was abuzz with activities as inmates showcased their talent in a beauty contest. They came out in large numbers in a bid to show that they are ready and willing to become integrated outside the walls of the prison. And Rin Kilemi with that beautiful story.
It was all smiles and laughter at the Thika Men and Women Prison as inmates participated in a beauty contest and other forms of art to discover life outside the walls of prison.
The reason why we wanted to do this is because we realized that in prison most talents, we're like sleeping on our talent, on the inmates' talent, and we thought that it is good to encourage them, kwa sababu wengi wakitoka huko nje pia wanaweza tumia kipawa chao kupata labda kazi.
Among talents that were showcased include modeling, dancing and spoken word. Inmates who participated in the event expressed their joy for being part of the event as it helped them discover their talents and gave hope for a better future.
Nimefurahia sana vile nimekuja kutembelea juu sisi wanga roho yetu wanga inakufa sana wakati ambayo tumefungwa. Juu kiangalia mimi nimefungwa miaka 5. Napata wale watu wetu wa nyumbani, wale familia yangu wamenitupa.
Leo nimeenjoy. Juzi yake kushika akoski hii miaka 16. Ndio mje kunishika hivyo. But sasa hivi amenishika hata leo nimestuka.
Caroline Wangoi, who was jailed for flouting curfew rules, emerged the winner in the contest and was crowned Miss Thika Prison 2021.
Leo nimefurahia juu siku dot naweza kuwa na talent kaya ya kumodel. Juu huku ndo nimekuja nikamodelia na nimepata chance naweza niko na hiyo talent.
The Thika Men and Women Prison Administration assured inmates of such events that will help break from the normal prison environment and aid in improving their mental health. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
And then this should be the last story that we're picking, and we get to the conversation. A truck driver died after he was trapped inside a burning truck following an accident that occurred at Kaburenge area along the Eldoret-Webuye Road. And as Elizabeth Otieno now reports, the accident involved 2 other vehicles with the drivers nursing injuries at Webuye Hospital.
This was the situation Sunday noon. This truck, loaded with a 40-feet container filled with goods, bursted into flames, killing the driver. According to witnesses, the truck driver hit the bump before losing control at the River Nzoia Bridge and ramming into 2 vehicles, a Toyota Noah and a sand transporting lorry.
Hii gari yenye imeanguka katikati hii ilitoka huko juu, ilikuwa na breki. Ilimekuwa mbio kabisa. Yenye imeungua hiyo. Kufika hapa hivi kagonga ile ndogo yenye imekuwa hapo kando. Kidogo ikagonga ile nyingine. Sasa naye akajikata akafanya nini? Akaanguka kando. Ndio akakufa, amechomekea ndani.
Fire extinguishers from the Kakamega County arrived at the scene and took time to extinguish the fire from the burning truck. Angry residents are calling on the government to renovate the road in a bid to ease the cases of accidents reported in the area.
Sasa kila mara ukikuja mimi nikukumbaza tu watu wakienda wananyamaza. Tena kidogo kisingine inatokelezea. Hiyo si poa, tumekaa tumechoka. Tafadhali serikali tusaidie.
Serikali tunaomba uweze kutusaidia ili tuweze kututolee hii pambo nyumeka hapa hivi chini. Tunataka barabara ikuwe mzuri, gari zinapita mzuri, kila kitu ikuwe mzuri.
Fire engine ongeaka ikuwe karibu, manake hapa hivi ajali inafanyika kila wakati. So ungekuwa wanaokoa maisha watu wengi, hata watu gari ingekuwa inachomeka kama watu wangekuwa naumia.
This accident comes barely 2 months after 6 people perished on the same spot. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Unfortunate right there. That very story by Elizabeth Atieno is one that now takes us to a different segment altogether. We get to engage the guests of the morning. We already have Professor Naitule Gitule in studio, and we are getting a hold of Dr. David Masanga in a few, as we also get a hold of Dr. Justus Juma as well in a few. And of course, you are open to interact with us. The numbers that are running down on your screen, and also the SMS short code, which is 22047, the hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV 47K. You can already see many of us tuned in. Kindly keep keep it right there as you also try and get a hold of your friends so that we can all join in this very important conversation. Remember, we'll be looking at the papers briefly, and then we get to discuss the politics of the day right here in the country. And it's not all rosy in Sudan. We also get to understand what way forward for this young nation. Above everything, we also just have a sneak preview as to what is taking center stage, you know, as we officially get to the COP26 climate talks, which are really relevant, coming from, you know, the meeting of G20s, and also a majority of them committing to make sure that at least the climate matter is addressed. Professor Naitule Gitule is here with us already. It's a pleasure to have you, Prof. Thank you so much for creating time. An early bird, which is a great thing. We've been waiting for the others. They still are not here, but they are somewhere on the way. So by the time they're here, I think we should have gone. We should have started and touched on a couple of other things. And there are others that I'd love for us to discuss alongside them. So for a moment, we'll shelve them as we look at the papers and pick on the others that, you know, are equally of importance on the papers, as we also get to hold and wait for them to join in. The Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation, and the People Daily. I think we start with matters education now, that you are also huge and a stakeholder on this one. CBC training scheduled for high school teachers. That is a story captured on the Daily Nation on the front page and expounded hugely on the back page of the same. Enrollment expected to swell owing to the 2023 double intake, and KICD has already uploaded the grade 7 syllabus designs on its website. We might not focus much on this or narrow down to this, but I'd love to hear your view on the CBC, having witnessed the coming in of 844, the other systems that we had, and this one, having worked with students a couple of times, and, you know, at the last level where we now initiate them to the job market. What do you make of this arrangement?
Well, first of all, let me say that CBC in this country is an extremely bad idea.
Oh, yeah?
It's a horrible idea. It's just an indication of simply has who have responsibility taking in the project is simply to figure out how to take public money.
Yes.
The A-level system was working perfectly. It was giving us plumbers, electricians, and it was giving us academicians. If you remember, there was technical schools, there was art schools for those who different endowed. So this is how you look at it. We borrowed this education system from the Britons. The British have never changed theirs, but we have changed ours. Now this is that time. The Ugandans is still having the A-level system. The Tanzanians never changed theirs. So we moved then into 844. So if you ask the people who proposed the change, did they give you a list of what was wrong with the 844 against this, the CBC?
Yeah.
Because 844 is what it takes place in America. America is a superpower.
Yes.
It's what it takes place in China, the 844. China is a superpower.
It's a superpower.
So CBC, I know this education system extremely well because my children went through it.
Yes.
They went to Greenstead International School.
All right.
So they actually went through this. It's a good system, but it requires heavy investment, which we are not willing to put.
Yes.
Because you need heavy investment. You need first, you need small classes for CBC to work properly.
Yes.
The class size should be around 15. You know, it's borrowed from the Scandinavian countries. And those people are doing very well. Academic, everything, the, you know, the economy, the system is good.
It's good, okay.
It's probably the best.
Yes.
But it requires people to give everything they have into it. We are unwilling to invest in education properly because you need classrooms, because the class size must be very small for this system to work. You need to invest in equipment. You need to invest in proper training. You see, in those countries, in Finland, in Norway, in Sweden, you can't teach in nursery school or primary school without a master's degree.
Okay.
We don't have the same things here. And very targeted, not just masters, but extremely targeted in child development, child psychology, those areas which you build there. So what I think is we just love changing things. Because I can ask you, look at the change of the police uniform. What was wrong with the other uniform?
The other one. Nobody explained it.
Nobody told us what was supposed to be wrong with it.
Yes.
So we wanted to change the constitution the other day. What was wrong with the constitution? Particular clauses which we can say What we are bringing as more advantage over
the other
this one.
Yes.
Even the CBC, they didn't list the advantages. Of course, I'm testifying that it's better.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, for us, it only is much better.
Right.
But there was nothing wrong with also the other systems that we replaced.
Right.
We just had to perfect them. So instead of perfecting something that we have, we like to bring a new
system.
Because bring a new system means more money in my pocket. I'll share committees. I'll have seminars in Mombasa, attracting IPANDMs. So with the system we have, the government operatives in this country, because everything is tied to how much money you can get from the project, we have never brought in something useful for Kenya. And that's
therefore, sadly, we do not release students who are well-baked for
No, we
the market.
don't, because like now, children like 300 in a class, 400. How do we do this thing Europe? How do the same be zero? However good it is.
It is.
You can't tear up because you need like 14 maximum. That's what I saw happening in Greenstand. You know, in these European schools, they're expensive.
Yes.
They keep the children 14 in a class, and the children, I can tell you, they do well.
They do the best.
Okay, in entry examination for University of Liverpool, my daughter didn't because usually they will still test you to enter university.
Yeah.
Over 3,684 did that examination, and she was number one. Nice. Meaning the system, the school was good. The grounding was very good. So the system is always okay, but look at our implementation, because ourselves we have put personal aggrandizement ahead of
everything else.
So there is nothing we do for the country. If the project doesn't put the money in my pocket, however beneficial it is to the country, I rather not do it at all. And
that's the most unfortunate
really
thing.
Bad. That is not how countries move, and that's why we are stagnant. Because why we are not stagnant, we are actually going backward.
Well, that's the most unfortunate thing. And I mean, implementation is what is a problem right now. In as much as we say it's a good, system, that we have a long way in terms of making sure that such.
But the training, let's assume they will start the training. I think that's good.
It will go in handy.
Training is good, but we need to put real money in infrastructure.
Right.
In a classroom, in a capacity building. Capacity in terms of facilities, teachers, equipment, and the books.
Yes.
But you realize where we are, even in our universities, we don't have textbook. When I was in school, for every unit, it used to have a textbook, which the student would buy.
Nowadays, you depend on the
lecturer. Notes, and the lecturer gives you 15%.
What do you do with that? That becomes a problem. Well put. And of course, different views culminating as to what, of course, next for the CBC. We can only wait. As the CS for Matters Education would say, we have already left the station, or the train has left the station, and therefore we're not looking back. But even as we say that we're not looking back, how much are we doing towards making sure that then it is a successful procedure? Well, we now have Dr. David Nyakorach Masanga, who is joining us live from the Political Command Center of the events that are taking center stage in Glasgow. Yes, that is Scotland, the United Kingdom. As of course, he will be keeping us on the loop as to what is playing out there. Daktari, it's a pleasure to have you this morning. I know it's pretty much early down there, but you created time to be with us. President Uhuru Kenyatta will today join other world leaders on this 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference. I do not know what you make of the whole thing and what we are expecting from that end.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Kenya. Good morning, Professor Nigeria again. We meet.
Yes.
And good morning, my brothers, sisters across the continent of Africa. It is 6 minutes past 4 o'clock. And Linda, and the chairman of this station, you have woken me up so early. But when you are working for Africa, you don't give up all the time. Right. Professor Nigeria knows very well. We do that all the time. Let me catch on one point before we go to the other one. The question of CBC.
Right.
I totally agree with Professor Nigeria that CBC is the process that all of us went through.
Yes,
yes, we did it together. Or he did it. He was is my age mate. Yeah. Although I'm slightly, higher in age by a few years, 1 or 2, but still we did the CBS, and it is why we are here today. There's one thing that I want to tell the Kenyans. You must always look at your child. CBC says, look at the homework of your child. When your child comes from school, don't hesitate to say, bring the book here. Professor and Linda and the others listening. The children of today, some of them cannot spell simple words like a vernacular. They can't. Professor, if you go with them for an interview, you will beat them. All these younger men wearing trousers in the knees. They don't know how to spell something. CBC was teaching. CBC teaches people. You relate with your child. You tell him or her that this is not the way they do these things. In London, in the UK, where I am right now in Glasgow, when you bring when your child comes from school, in a nutshell, she has a book where the teacher has written how the child is behaving at school, how the child is performing at school, and what is supposed to be brought. So you also now look at your child. Another point that Alera and the viewers should know, in case, why CBC? The child could be molested by his friends, his fellow students, in your peer groups, or the teacher could beat your child. If you don't look at your child's book and find out the condition, some of the parents come and sleep from their offices. They don't care how the children have been at school. Some of these children could be molested, bullied, beaten, and harmed by their fellow students at school. So CBC is a very good thing, and I hope Kenyans, and I agree totally. I agree totally, and I want to thank President Uhuru Kenyatta for putting aside money for building more classes and the classrooms, equipping the classes so that CBC is working. Without classes, Professor, you are right, implementation could be very difficult.
Right.
I submit.
Daktari, again, once again, it's a pleasure to have you, and of course, coming all the way from Glasgow, where you are. As we get to this conversation, is one of the key things that has been captured on the papers, and I mean, the world over, the global fraternity is discussing this. What do we expect on this particular end as pertaining to the conversation of climate? It's not on this summit alone that we have this conversation. It's one that has been on for the longest of time. Maybe we start with the professor here so that we come back to you. And your expectation for this historic climate conversation coming right after the G20 conversation that was there, and a majority of these key leaders also committing to address matters climate.
Yeah, I don't want to be negative, but my thinking is we'll continue discussing a very grave issue until we self-destruct. Yes. Because that's what we are doing now. The biggest polluters is not Africa. We don't pollute anything. We are just, our consumption is extremely low. So the polluters are China, India, America, and Europe. Okay, these people are not agreeing to take the necessary painful steps. Right. Because one of the things they can do is to invest heavily in Africa in clean energy. Like Kenya is really leading now here. This government has invested heavily in geothermal. Yes. In fact, we have now more power than we need. That's why the other day we are saying that we don't need the IPPs, the independent power producers. So if those people with the money, they can put it in so ourselves, we don't take the route of fossil fuels. They block, and they also invest in converting to clean energy. They can probably prolong our stay on this planet. But like Stephen Hawking said, he estimates that these planets will last between 100 and 200 years maximum. If we continue in the same trajectory.
Okay.
Yes. So they will talk, they will agree, because like in the US, they have a new president now is committed to reduction, to climate reduction. But the next thing they could have someone else like Trump. So we are in a very difficult position because we depend on the political leaders to make the decision to save the planet. The political leaders are dealing also with very ignorant people who don't even see the danger with which we have exposed ourselves. A lot of their voters don't see. Like during Trump for 4 years, America stopped anything on the climate.
On climate, yes.
Because he didn't believe in it. So America couldn't get another president after Biden, and it's the world leader. So I think they will talk there and go home. I don't think there's
nothing much that can happen.
No, because they make commitments, which then there's no mechanism for enforcing. So it is just, if you think you want to do it, you do it. I can tell you countries have made a lot of progress. Sweden, which I'm very familiar with, because I worked with the UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, on a program called MESA, Mainstreaming and Environment for Sustainability in African Universities. So I visited Sweden many times, and the other Scandinavian countries. Those countries have made this big progress in converting to clean energy and reducing pollution. Europe has also given the laws they have passed, because even the vehicles now you must add some things to make sure that the pollution is controlled. But we are doing nothing here. I mean, you see our roads, the lorries, you can't even, they produce a lot of pollution on the road. We are not doing anything about it. And so is the other countries. So those fellows, because they have money, the G20, they can invest in Africa and South America and Asia to make sure that we don't take the same route they took in the development. That way they can help. But I don't expect them going through that, because sometimes also, I mean, they have made many commitments.
It's a game of interest, yes. And, well, true to it, Dr. You have been here long enough to probably agree with what it is that Professor speaks of. And I mean, this comes right after the G20 leaders' final statements that we saw, all of them hugely committing to, address the matters of climate. And again, just looking at what played out in the US, and remember the difficulties that came on board when Trump, evidently pulled out from the Paris Agreement, is, that pertaining to matters climate. We all understand how this is at the heart of many. But what happens in the event that we get leaders that, are not on the struggle to make sure that this then is addressed, but are there to reverse the gains that we have made so far? Are we likely to see anything? And I mean, like Professor would say, this is not the first time that we're discussing matters climate, year in, year out. We always have these discussions, these conversations, but really the situation gets dire. Global warming is with us. And I mean, nothing paints a good picture.
You are right, Professor. Thank you very much on this one. And Linda, I agree. And Professor, you are shy of saying the truth. Matanga is never shy of saying the truth. I said, if you want to kill me, kill me. If I had the powers, I would arrest the following leaders and detain them not to go anywhere, and explain to the world why we in Africa suffer from their own problems. China, that Chinese man will not live in the airport.
Biggest
France, that French guy who looks for diamonds in Congo and cutting all the forests and laying cables and so on, who do not live, are arrested. United States of America would be arrested. The countries that have tried to do what is worth are the Scandinavian countries, United Kingdom, where I am here. You don't drive a car on the road when you have not passed MOT. If you are smoking, police will take you in. Those are the things that are not anywhere China is producing more pollution, more diseases, more everything. You saw another one coming yesterday, the way they prepare their food. China is cutting our forests. I am very upset with my bamboo shoots from Mount Elgon. And then Professor knows bamboo is eaten as part of our vegetables. It has lived there for millions and millions of years. Every time you now see lorries and the trailers hauling bamboos, to the port of Mombasa, and it's going to China. We are now removing the forest, and this landslide is every year in my country, in Bududa, landslides are killing people. So in essence, the polluters, can I tell you the truth, good breaking news? The polluters are here.
They are meeting.
They are here. In fact, we have bought so many eggs to pelt them.
Oh yeah?
I found yes. I found another group of Bazungu. And unfortunately, the whole security is very tight. Around this place. You have to have a badge. It is here on my desk. You can't move an inch without that badge. Because people were prepared with eggs, millions and millions of eggs.
Okay.
To pelt some of that, to the extent that the Chinese president opted for a virtual.
He did not come.
Because he knew he did not come. Because we were waiting for him. He's the biggest polluter on planet Earth. These are people killing people. For example, you talk of climate, Africa. What problem have we? Is Africa part of the global market? Are we globalized? Or we are spectators standing on the periphery of the playing field? Do you call yourself a global market? You're a professor there. Do you walk into Sweden without a visa? Are you globalized? These guys have turned us into a market where they come and dump very bad ideas. Look at the ideas they have planted. They are looking for minerals. Okay, there is one question that I want to put here. Professor will agree with me. If the colonizers or the Western world know where oil is, they know where diamonds are, they know where gold is, why don't they know that there will be a problem with climate and the temperatures will rise?
Okay.
Do they tell us? Do they tell us? I have come here on Friday, Professor, and the next time join me on this journey. Don't get involved with local politics. You have now grown beyond these local cheap things. Join me in a journey on Friday. I presented a paper. Is Africa part of globalization? It has brought me a lot of salutes from Africa. About 21 heads of state have sent me personal messages on my phone here saying thank you very much. I hammered the world. I told the truth. We are not part of the global market.
But hold it right
we
there.
We are not.
Daktari, without appearing as though we are looking so much at the interest of Africans, reality is that all these other countries, the entire global fraternity faces the troubles. Allow me to ask this question. They face the troubles on the extreme weather situation. And I mean, if today, because of the temperatures, because of the weather changes, we have a significant economic, cost that we have to face today, it will cut across the global fraternity. So what interest would they, have?
My interest is people like you.
Yes.
I'm not. Yes. I'm interested in Africa, in making Africa better.
That's one thing, but also the entire global fraternity should be.
Why? No, the entire global fraternity is the one coming to kill us. You are forgotten. They are the ones. Now, can I ask you why you are given why you are given medicine donated? Are you an animal? You don't look here. Why don't bring that?
Daktari, did you take the vaccine yourself? Did you take the jab?
Yes.
Then
I'm fully vaccinated. Not on medicine donated.
Okay.
I am fully vaccinated on medicine that was given at the first beginning in Kenya.
In Kenya.
Which was tested the first time when the president took the medicine. Matanga took the medicine, the vaccine. But there is medicine which is left over.
All right.
You are an African. If Nyerere was here, if Kwame Nkrumah was here, if Jomo Kenyatta was here, if Samora Machel was here, Patrice Lumumba, Dr. Milton Obote, they would be speaking against this.
Hold it right there, Dr. Let's loop in a professor here so that you can also get to have that balance. And true to it, whatever you say it could be holding, you know, some truth in that. But I mean, if at all the climate is tampered with, you know, it will cut across.
It's affecting everybody.
Yes.
I think if you have seen the floods in Europe,
yes,
I think they're
in fact, it's even extreme on the other side.
If you're seeing the US, the fires.
The fires, yeah.
The extreme weather everywhere. Actually, globally, even in China, I think the other day I saw a lot of floods.
Yeah.
And China also, I was in China, I think 2014, 2015. You can't see the sun. There are some people who are born there and they grow without ever seeing the stars or the sun because of pollution.
Yeah.
Because they can't, the pollution. So everybody is exposed to this danger, and that is why those people need to think very carefully. In fact, I think eventually people will come to Africa as the world goes towards the end.
Yeah.
This is the only place that will be left
Safe
with
for
somewhere
them.
to step.
Okay.
Yes.
Because
there you are. I told you.
they will finish their place, so they will have no choice. They will have to come here,
Yes.
and we will welcome them when they do, because they will have nowhere else now to go. But this is a global problem, and Mwalimu, Daktari there, what he is saying is correct. They need to take it serious, because it's affecting everybody. It will affect them actually eventually more than us. Eventually.
Right.
Because you see all those hurricanes. You know, when you look at Africa, for some reason, it is shielded from a lot of disasters. We don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes.
Right.
We don't have all the emergencies that you see in those other places. So this is the most stable part of the planet. I think when God was creating the world, he intended this place to be the paradise.
Right.
It's just that it's not populated.
How can Alera tell me I should not protect the paradise?
It is one thing to protect, but it's also one thing to... yes.
Wait. My dear sister, don't tell me about one thing. When we have not... Did we come to find the River Nile? Where is the River Nile? River Nile is found in my country.
Yeah.
These guys came and say, we have discovered the source of River Nile. Well, the River Nile was already there. Kwenda.
Usiharibu. Wait a minute. We have our leaders there. It's all right. Africa is...
No. Yeah, I set the pace. My dear sister, you don't know how many presidents have thanked him.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is there.
Yes.
Our African leaders are there.
He has thanked me. Museveni has thanked me.
This is the 26th that we are holding.
I stood. It doesn't matter.
Dr. You have had this conversation before with the very same leaders, probably. Museveni himself.
Listen here.
The African leaders are aeroplanes here.
Take the example of Mozambique. Was there war in Mozambique? No. Now the Total Oil and the French
has brought
went there in northern Mozambique and said they have discovered the hot gas and the oil. Why are they specializing only in that, in discovering? Why don't they think? Then they created environmental catastrophe. Rebels of Al-Shabaab said, we have been living here for 1,200,000 years. There was nothing like this. You came and they got oil here. Now you are telling us to move away. And then you are burning everything. You are producing. Oil produces a very bad, pollution, which you have seen in Nigeria. Have you seen how Nigeria people live on water? Very silly government in Nigeria called of Buhari. Very stupid government. They have killed people because of oil. So now tell me, did you go to Britain or Scotland and produce oil? No. Did the Africa run there? They are running to our continent because.
But I mean, what if we're here and it takes for them to come and discover some of this for us, that they have to come to Turkana, and all these years we've had our very own Africans seated there without discovering this, for them to come and discover, I mean. Let's allow Professor come in.
No. When you are
Briefly.
growing up, did you know? When you are growing up,
yes.
Did you know that there was oil in Turkana?
Nope.
So why have you see now that because they have just come? Do you know that we are going to have a problem there?
We will, for sure, without doubt. I mean, we still
Yes.
are having the problems, and the people of Turkana are not enjoying any benefits out of this.
Let me shock you before Professor comes in. 6% of Africans, as we stand now and talk on this television now, are the only ones vaccinated. 6% out of 1 billion. Yes. 1 billion, 6%. Surely, if this disease came back now, Adela, tell me where you'll be.
Probably as good as done. Let's have Professor come in and on that very note, which is very, very important. I mean, can we blame them for our own misfortune, for our own misdoings? Because, I mean, if they have discovered the vaccines, I mean, it's only fair that they consider themselves first before they make sure that this trickles down to Africa. If they have come to Africa and Africa is seated, the leaders are not doing much towards making sure that we tap into the resources that we have, and then they discover there's oil in Turkana. Can you blame them for anything?
No, you can't. Because as human beings, there is something in economics we call the rational economic theory. And it's simple as is that everybody takes the decisions which maximize the returns on themselves. So that's how the Europeans do. They're maximizing their returns.
Onto them.
So it's up to us to protect our resources and also to protect our environment, not them. You can't blame them for giving priority in this COVID to their citizens either, because that's what exactly they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So it's ourselves who need to figure out why is it that we are not organized. Why do we allow them? You know, even Waswahili wanasema msojipanga mutapangwa. Sasa tumepangwa kwa sababu hatujajipanga. Because even the colonization was because we are not strong enough, we are not organized. Hatukujipanga, so we can't blame them for our failures. Because you can see we are really favored by nature, by God. Because the only disasters in Africa are the ones we create. They are not the ones created by nature. So for me, I wouldn't blame them, even on the vaccinations, because you remember the KEMSA issues here. There's a lot of donations came, masks came, then it was stolen, then it was sold back to us by our own leaders. So you are not going to blame these fellows when we still
have our very own. Secretary, you know, I want us to take a quick break before you come and respond to Professor, and also tell us how much of gains then you're going to make on this one, because like you have started by saying, we acknowledge that so much has been done in terms of this, but then of course we know who or where the problem is, or who, you know, is causing this particular problem. But then again, we also do not have leaders that really can speak on our behalf, you know,
who love us.
Who love us so much so to a point whereby they would go there and in the same vigor address these matters, the same vigor that you hold.
We have a problem because we have leaders we love, but not the leaders
they don't
who
love
us.
us. They have their own interest again.
I remember the adage which says, find a woman who loves you, then marry her.
Yes, that's
not
the whole
the one
idea.
you love. Because the one you love, it's not going to work.
It will not go anywhere. All right.
So why don't we have leaders who love us,
and then,
as opposed to the ones
that we love? That's true. We'll take a short break and then we come back to you, Dr. Masanga.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording, but anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC Nighting with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Undertaking husband duties on a boyfriend tender.
Guys, with bromance, do you share your woman with the bro?
Have a sister, give me your sister. I show you how these things are done.
So you go release and be like,
Men supporting each other, not only financially, but also socially.
Don't mingle with women you can't deal with.
Is there really a formula for dating and marriage?
Some men are procreational, some men are recreational.
Every Wednesday on TV47, the Men's Conference brings you a cocktail of top-notch advice to breed alpha males for alpha females in the society.
Tunaweza tumia hii tenje tutesiwe do.
Mimi naitwa Ben, mimi ndo rafiki ya babako.
Tumeleta dozi zako usimize mtoto.
And now we have to deal with a drug addict.
Yaani ulio mzai wako. I had to.
Sema! Dozi zangu ziko wapi?
Ben! Tuishini Uganda.
The road to 2022 is becoming tougher and trickier with each passing day.
Na wawache kuja kutuletea makasiriko.
Political aspirants in a dilemma whether to change allegiance or not.
Nonetheless, you have justified your change of stance.
It's my bloody personal politics.
Tell them this. They could have gone to do law so that they become judges. They do not have the capacity, training, or skill to interpret a court order.
As a journalist, you have also had occasion to actually do some research. Read the judgment of
It's the nature of our job to have. The question is very specific.
Listen to me,
my question is very specific.
Every Monday at 9:30 p.m., Pundits Night brings you inclusive and candid conversations with the pundits. It just doesn't land on your plate. It takes hard work.
They require highly skilled labor.
Time.
8 months, and that means you have given it a lot of care, a lot of time.
And resources.
I remember I had invested so much in fertilizer, like I just didn't want anything to go wrong.
From a seedling, to a fruit or vegetable, as well as a fertilized egg to a chicken, duck or turkey. Here at Kilimo Diaries, Sandra Wahito takes us through it all every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Every successful business offers a solution to a problem. It could be eyewear for your visual needs or to
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Still with me, Professor Naitule Gitule, and we also have Dr. David Masanga, who is joining us live from the Political Command Center in Glasgow, Scotland, as of course he views what will play out on this historic, moment, the 26th one of COP26, as we get to have this conversation. So on matters climate, Dr. as you close on that one, so we briefly look at what is happening in the country politically.
Tell him to look for me when he comes back.
And you'd better look for a professor here, so you make sure that next time, the 27th of COP, you'll be there. All right, Dr. Masanga.
There is quite a lot we can do with professor on international scene than the local scene. Because the local scene looks like a jumbled up with so many malcontents and conmen and so many people, non-status. So let's help President Uhuru Kenyatta to do other things that will bring Africa to a level of understanding. Professor talked about rational, proportional theory. I think it's called irrational. Call it irrational, Prof. There's nothing here. Yes, I agree with you. Africa has to play its part. But Africa without resources, Africa that relies on the resources from the same polluters, it has a problem. Africa that is divided, you must have money to run an ecosystem. Look at the countries where ecosystem has collapsed. Look at Zimbabwe. Earlier you were in Zimbabwe, you saw. How can Zimbabwe maintain the ecosystem when they don't even have the money?
The money, yeah. So
they have been put under sanctions. That's why we campaigned. One of the things, as I wrap up, one of the things that I see two great leaders who have arrived here, whom I admire so much. One great leader is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Two, the great leader whom I have been campaigning for 20 years, for him to be allowed to step on the British soil, is Emerson Mnangagwa, my great friend. He's here today, and Mugabe must be feeling very comfortable in the grave where he is. That today, for the first time, last night, I went and saw Mnangagwa step out of the plane on British soil, which is very, very important. That is why some of us can be called names on the African continent, especially in Kenya. When you speak, they call you names. But we work hard to make sure that Africa is not belittled. We work hard to make sure that we keep Africa united. I might be here, but I have millions and millions of followers who know that some of the things I talk, PLO Lumumba has millions and billions of followers. We talk, we try to warn you. I've warned the people. This climate thing, if we are not careful, we shall find ourselves being eroded into Indian Ocean. There is a gentleman in Kenya who went to build a hotel in Mombasa called Dolphin. He built it and cut the ocean. You know, these are some, why are you keeping quiet about this? The man, if he had not been stopped, he was going to cut the Indian Ocean. While you are eating your food, the water comes and takes you again. So, Naituri, please, for me, I hate conmen of those nature. Yes. And I think that the next topic you are bringing is that one. I'm ready for it. Okay. I'm here, I support President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Bring this conmen here.
All right, all eyes in Glasgow, and we'll be keenly following to see what plays out there. We'll be here to make sure that you are updated. Briefly onto the politics of the country. First of all, we start off with this one on IEBC, and well, there's so much that is happening. Evidently, they've not been lucky enough to get the numbers that they were expecting, but they decry of an aspect of state capture. The cabinet secretary, a commissioner with the electoral body, and former senior officials said to be behind moves to stall procurement of the ballot materials, a story captured on page 6 of the People Daily. We're just referring to this so that at least we have our conversation on. And Wafula Chebukati says the time is running out and we are getting worried over this tendency by some interested parties to rush to the courts and the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board to stop any slight move we make in the procurement processes. To couple that with the conversation of the fact that they do not have monies, they say the budget is way below. We have not managed to get the target. By tomorrow, the 2nd, then we'll have closed this process of voter registration, which many are calling for an extension. I don't know whether we need any. What do you make of this, Prof?
First of all, just listen to what
Chebukati is saying. Yes.
Why shouldn't you worry about the people going to Gotv and doing things right?
Right.
What he is saying is you should be allowed to violate the law. Nobody should object when he violates the law. I think our problem here is in dishonesty. It's conmanship, which my colleague there talked about. Everybody wants to con. This Shupkati, he knows if he is following the law, people go to court with futility.
Yeah.
Because they are courts of justice. They are not the courts. So that is number 2 about the ballot business. Why we print money in Ruaraka?
Okay.
Why do we print ballots in UK? And that's because of the state capture. You see what you just mentioned there?
Right.
Because there are cartels that must earn money from every election. And the electoral body is there to take care of those cartels, not to take care of the peoples of Kenya. We need to get the leadership right. You see, my friend there, he was talking about the truth is the Africa is the richest continent.
Yeah.
And yet, the poorest, because Africa has admitted, we have gotten it wrong on leaders. That is where we have gotten it wrong.
The resources we have.
The resources we have, the very hard-working people we have, because I can tell you, the way even these Kenyans are surviving is amazing. Look at small little businesses they keep opening every day. Okay? A problem is this entire continent, we failed to produce a Nyerere everywhere. We failed to produce a Mandela everywhere. We failed to produce a Captain Sankara everywhere. We have produced extremely selfish people. And these selfish people are holding us down. They will not let this continent move until we can get a Nyerere, get a Mandela, get a Captain Sankara, and get Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the ones he's talking about. Of course, Nkrumah was not allowed by the military to express himself well, but at least Nyerere didn't. Mandela didn't. Captain Sankara also, the French. And I can see my friend has quite something to say about the French.
Yes.
They are the ones who are limiting Captain Sankara. So our problem is leadership. If we get the leadership right in this continent, we are better than all the other places. I mean, I was in America for 10 years. I was in Norway for nearly 3. I know how this world more or less works. I've been to other places now as a scholar. Nearly, I don't know which countries in this world. This is paradise. This is the best place God ever created, but it has no leaders.
Right.
That's why we get exploited. Because let me ask you just a question honestly. Who in his right mind would have been the SGR?
Well.
To do what? You know what you
have. You don't have any gains, you think?
What you're having now is what you can easily describe as a monument of shame.
Is
because
it so?
How do you invest all that money? Then after commissioning, you spend another $1 billion per month to run it. Which kind of investment is that?
but I mean, it looks like it's one that is going to be a long term.
What is it? It will not be a long time. It will start collapsing. Mark my words. Within 10 years, it will start rotting.
But is it not coming handy for very many people?
Have you ever seen a train passing with a line to Naivasha?
All right, we still are waiting.
Example.
Yes.
It is not going to produce anything. Nobody would have done that. What you would have done, if you are serious with Kenya, is you put that money in Nyandarua, or you put it in Kirinyaga, and you would be buying potatoes 1 sack for 50 shillings.
Okay.
Because the cost will go down because of the transportation and other. Or you have a dual carriage from Mombasa to Malava, 6-line highway.
Right.
And now you will be having heateries, petrol stations.
On this road.
The land prices would have gone up. So a poor country can't afford a flight of fancy. Because that is a flight of fancy.
Well, so a majority of Kenyans benefit from this. Yes. I mean, you try and book the SGR. In most cases, it's packed.
Well, you packed, but packed with 2,000 per day. That one, our buses can carry that. We will not carry that. You see, when you put that kind of money, you need to look at your return. I'm just giving an example that we have resources.
Right.
But we don't even know how to take care of those resources.
Or tapping to the right.
Or tapping to the right, having the right priorities.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you can see now Supukatia doesn't want to be taken into court when he gives illegal tenders.
All right.
He wants the people not to go to court.
Question that.
To question that.
Do we have time for people to question it anyway? Dr. Masanga, as you come in.
Yes. Professor, today you woke up very nice. And I am happy that most of your brain is matching with Masanga's brain today.
Very nice.
I have learned, and that is very good. It looks like these issues are going to be solved nicely, the way we think. Look at this. Linda, I have been on your show for a long time. And I've been, do you remember what I told you?
Right.
I told you if I was a Kenyan, I would not allow a man called Wafula Chebukati to touch my vote. To count my vote. Nigeria, didn't I say it on KTN with you?
Yes, you did.
Because I studied the subject called political science up to the highest iota on planet Earth. That's why I'm here in Scotland. I am challenging other white professors who taught me. I am here. I'm one of the best students in the United Kingdom at that time. Look at me. If I was a Kenyan, I would not give Chebukati a chance even to look into the ballot.
But why? I mean, there's not a single of them that has held this particular office that appeared to be good.
He doesn't do things right.
Okay, wait. I am coming.
Right.
In your own sense of thinking, can you print your ballot papers in Greece? If I go to Greece today from Glasgow where I am, with my $20,000 or euros, the Prime Minister of Greece will invite me to his palace because there's a rich man. Yes, it's a lot of money. There's a rich man who has arrived in the town. Now you go. Surely you Kenyans, do you know why this is conmanship of the highest degree? And I'm happy. I am happy. I am the one, and let Chebukati kill me if he wants. I am the one who raised the flag. I said you cannot print ballot papers in Greece. Do you know the man who brought the contract to print the ballot paper has married a wife of the printer in Greece? He's a Kenyan. I don't want to tell you here.
Yeah, that's how Gotv.
Yeah, a cartel. Yes. This man is married to the owner of the factory. You know, don't forget I'm an investigative. I have a network, man. That's why you see me here. A network. I don't want to talk like a Atwoli Allah. I have a network in the world. This man is a Kenyan. This man is related, is a colleague of someone, a top conman in that country. They went and fetched this company from Greece to come and print you ballot papers. Surely you Kenyans, you print even money. You print money which is more expensive than the paper.
Right.
To go and take your printing papers in Greece. Someone from Kenya will work with $1 million.
All right.
And print more ballot papers with that. So for me, first of all, this election, and Professor, you remember I told you that these elections look very funny.
Professor has a view on the very same note. Professor.
Wait, okay. You gave him time.
I just want to react so that you can as well expound further on the same.
Yeah, I just want to say, you see, the Electoral Commission is made of Kenyans. It's supposed to be an independent body. They know exactly what to be done, what needs to be done.
Yes.
You don't want to do it. It's very simple. You know the parties participating in the election. So you form a ballot printing committee composed of members of those parties. And then the other weakness we have as a country is not trusting our own institutions. So if you form that committee, which also can involve people from the registry of political parties, and the courts, the judicial system as a committee on election also, a representative from that committee, you can use the government printer.
You don't necessarily have to procure from outside.
You don't even have to tender it. You just use the government printer to print the ballot, supervising by that committee. Because you see, you can have security, closing and opening. And that committee is totally in charge. So this can be done. But if you do that, the cartels won't have the money.
That.
So they will never allow you to do the right thing.
Right.
So our democracy is the most expensive democracy money can buy. This money they are saying they don't have, they have more than enough if they can just decide to be Kenyans and forget about
having
about
the cartels
cartels.
benefiting out of that.
Yeah, but if you remember even the way they were recruiting, so the cartels were in charge of the process,
of recruiting.
and they like we are hopeless on this thing actually. The whole country is unfortunate.
You know, Professor, we are in the stages of Emperor Nero. Anybody who has studied the political science and the history of Europe, Emperor Nero kept on moving forward and up, down. That is where Chebukati has taken us. Chebukati moves up. He knows that. You know, in the heart of Chebukati, I met him in Mombasa. We sat in one corner, and me, I talk, he's listening. I asked him a very serious question. Don't you think you have lost time for conducting these elections? 2, don't you think these elections, if conducted in the format they are being conducted, I would have to have more energy to be flying towards the head?
But this is to be fair.
Because no, wait. Because where we are heading, Professor, a bad election is as good as it should not be there. Don't prepare
I want to agree with you. You see, having conducted an election which was announced by the court, there was no basis for Sefka to conduct any other election.
All right.
In fact, they should have been removed immediately that election was announced by the court.
All right.
But the way our system is working is like we want to self-destruct. So we simply insist on doing the wrong thing.
But when are we going to get the right person? Because it's not Chebukati alone that
you see, if it happened to that commission immediately that election was announced and they were removed, the next people will be careful. You see what is happening here, there is no cause to bad behavior.
Yes.
When there is no cause to bad behavior, the bad behavior will continue. So this is now it will continue. Because there was no cost, there was no price to pay for that mess. Because you see, we spend more money, people died.
Right.
Somebody should have been held accountable for that in Tipaku. But nobody was. So as long as there is no cost to bad behavior will not stop.
All right. And true to it, Daktari, probably nothing much has been done. In the previous years, we all understand, Kivitu, may his soul rest in eternal peace, Isaac Hassan, we're talking about Chebukati today. There's not a single chief commissioner or there's not a single chair of the IEBC that has been, at least in the good books. We all have questioning, all of them that have, occupied particular office. Then moving forward, is it that we have crafted these mistakes for ourselves and now we want to lay them on the heads of individuals?
How do you have a good Chebukati or any good coming from people in Kenya? Don't learn from their previous mistakes. Do you know that up to today the server has never been opened?
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Do you let's go slowly. Do you know that Chebukati cannot explain today where we put the spoiled ballot paper? Isn't it the one thing that made our election to be nullified?
It is.
You remember what that woman was asking, the other woman, Madam? No, Mwilu.
All right.
Judge, with her poor English, she was asking, can I know where you put the spoiled paper? She finished us. You remember, you were there with me. I walked out and they said it is over.
Right.
This guy
so
today,
let me tell you, today
so
we are giving
those papers.
You said that was all. I told the people, Alena, you were there. I told the people that we have lost this election.
Right.
Didn't I walk out of the studio?
Yes.
You were there with me.
So
I walked out and I said, so in a nutshell,
right?
In a nutshell, elections in Kenya, already the way the planning, the way things are going, the way things people are saying, some cartel, some people should not be on this. We have already started, prepared a journey of this, of mishap. There will be a mishap. Therefore, if I were Chebukati, I would have learned from this story of Kivutu and I said, you know what? I did my best I can't go on. If the money is not there for you to conduct the election, then you are conducting what? The last point that I want to make.
Briefly, so Prof can come in.
Professor has touched on something very important. Do you know that people are not ashamed in that country? And in Africa, most people are not ashamed. You saw Mr. Waluke going to ask for a passport when he's a criminal. Yeah. He's a criminal.
But he's proceeding.
Even I'm going to
and he went and asked the judge that the judge told him, you are forgotten, you are in custody. You see, we have very dangerous people. And these people are led by elite group. One of the elite group is that Ruto there. He's elite.
Is he? All right, hold it right there.
Yes,
hold it right there. Now that you mentioned him, I think we get to the individuals that we have that appear to be formidable for the next general election 2022. We have seen the One Kenya Alliance, you know, flexing their muscle. Officially, they hit the ground. They were in Githurai. And one would want to ask, based on the story or the packet that was prepared by our very own Musa Salah, do crowds really count in this case? And I mean, what way for One Kenya Alliance?
Crowds don't count. They only count on one thing, that they are responding to you. They can tell a story that you are actually significant because they are responding to you.
Yeah.
But in the end, they don't, because these are the same people who go to all the politicians, wherever they come, nearly the same people. But what you should worry us also is a political rally in the middle of the week or on Monday or Tuesday, and it has that crowd, meaning that people are not working.
Right.
So what you should look for is a day when a politician will have a rally and there will be nobody there on a working day. Then you should be happy for the country. You should know the country is at work. But as it is right now, we see all these people. Of course, they count for something. They tell us that you are significant and they are responding to you. The other thing is that is mass education, except these politicians don't do much of educating. Now, One Kenya Alliance, I think whether we like it or not, this election, it could also produce surprises. Remember, there are some other candidate we don't even talk about. There is Justin Muturi, the Speaker of National Assembly.
Mwangi wa Iria.
You
don't want to speak about him? Well, there's Mukisa Kitui.
Mukisa, yes. Mukisa, in fact, if we are serious people, we should be listening to him.
Right.
Because you see, I don't think both Ruto and Raila have serious critical minds in their campaigns, because their proposals, at least Raila is tying his proposal with an answer. Says the 6,000 I can give because I will zero the corruption loopholes. You can, there is logic there, but there is no logic in Ruto's 30 billion.
Right.
Because people are already people are already stealing youth fund.
Yes.
Okay, they are already stealing the women fund. He is not giving us a guarantee that is that the billion will not be stolen. CNDF, it is in this newspaper how much it has been misused. It's about to have poor and bright students, but then the MPs in charge are stealing it. They are employing, if you read the Auditor General report, people they don't need just to find a way of passing money. You understand? So how will Ruto's that billion be administered?
All right.
I think the politicians, they need to get into the habit of having think tanks. People who can actually analyze your proposal before you bring it to the public and tell you in which way you should bring it. Because all their proposals can be implemented if we can stop the graft. This is an extremely rich country. But we need to stop the graft. So they don't mention the graft. They say they will set aside 100 million or whatever for every constituency. True, do it. But they see in the already, and half of it is being stolen or 90% of it. So without giving us a formula on how you will protect that money, we shouldn't take you serious. And that's why I'm saying now there are the people now we are not listening here. Like Muturi. Muturi says, he says one of his pillars is accountability, transparency. Because the transparency, then you don't have corruption. With the accountability, you don't have corruption. Okay, if it can be implemented. But even the, what is the name, the Montavanti of the One Kenya Alliance, even him is talking like that. But then none of them is brave enough to tell us that they will deal with the biggest problem this country has. Corruption. Because that is the biggest, we stop that one, we are all very well of the people.
Professor, let me come in to help you on Mudavadi. You know, the truth is this. Linda, I've told you. And it's good you bring me on a Monday to cheer up Kenyans. Mudavadi is a good bishop.
Hello?
Can be a good clergy, but not a man who can win votes. Two, all these people in Okoa, they need Baba.
One Kenya Alliance.
Baba. No, listen. Oka. Is it Okawa?
Oka.
Oka. They need Baba.
Do they?
Yes.
They had Baba in 2017.
Let me tell you, Mudavadi cannot win an election in Kenya, even if you give him the whole Sahara Desert.
He appears to be the best amongst all. In fact, if we were to talk matters corruption, they say.
If you look at
what corruption? What corruption? The only thing that the good policy that Raila, the man has said, he has tied it to a practical example. It is workable. For the Prime Minister of Singapore to make Singapore a great country, he killed his own relatives. He imprisoned his own relatives for life in jail. If there is no leader in Kenya who is telling Kenyans that NFC will go to committee, starting with Ruto himself.
Is he?
First. Yes. Yes, I am the Kwanzaa. My friend, when he's found guilty, I engage committee.
He's not been found guilty just yet, yeah.
Yes, I am saying allegedly. Allegedly.
Okay.
So, if he's found guilty, I engage committee, Akai. I own how committee serves. But for him to come with a policy of 30 billion and bottom up, bottom where? When you have corruption, killing, eating even the bottom. The corruption is eating the middle.
Professor has a view so that you can build up on the same.
You have put a very good point.
No. Let me finish my point.
It's on the very same note, Daktari, so that you can come in again.
Yeah, no, look here, Arera.
Yes.
The Okoa, that crowd is not, you see, these people are not.
They had a very good crowd yesterday in Githurai.
Yes. Yeah, but they have been told what to do. Lakini wa jamaa wa Kenya, don't you read the stars in the sun, in the sky?
So you notice he has said something important. He said the Prime Minister of Singapore.
Yes.
To deal with the ghost of corruption and to deal with his own relatives.
Right.
Now that has to happen here for us to move.
Yes.
Because if you look at the corruption in Kenya, it's actually government policy. It's planned and executed by the state. So we need a president who will say that I'm not going to supervise corruption because I'm not involved in it myself. Now, all these fellows running, nobody is actually daring to say that. Nobody, but I think you can excuse Raila because he has grown a little old. This is not the Raila that we used to know. I think you can sympathize with him because at least he is even mentioning
that is going to be, yes.
But I heard one day Justin Muturi also say that the government is not a part of the solution in this country. It's been a part of problem because the question is, how do you get 68 billion to walk out of the central bank? Okay? This simply means you don't, we elect a president to protect our life and to protect our property. So if that money is walking out, it means there is nobody protecting our property.
Yeah.
You understand? So I understand. And the way I heard him explaining on some journalist, he said that the government has carried from the colonial state. The colonial state was an exploitative state. Okay? The mood of the country has never moved from that. That's why they introduced taxes, which don't make sense. So now the One Kenya Alliance is onto something. When they say that, look, we will correct the tax mess. That makes sense to me. You cannot tell people that you're the bottom up without addressing the question of unreasonable taxes. In fact, the only way to put money directly into people's pockets is reduce these taxes, automatically get money into people's pocket without favoritism. Without who is your cousin, without who supported you in the election. But the other business of setting aside the money, in my opinion, Kenyans need to reject this thing in totality because we know it will not work. Wow. It should not even be a campaign platform. Somebody says like these Oka fellows, and I wish if they continue that way, say we will reduce the taxes 50%. But so imagine it pays you and it goes down 15%. Yes. And because you have stopped the corruption, there will be no shortage of money in the government. Okay, because we fund corruption.
So we'll manage to sustain the budget and at the same time.
Exactly, at the same time promote consumption. Okay. So that the economy can expand. So the truth is, there are Kenyans who are thinking in the right direction, but very few people are listening to them. JB Muturi is one of them. This fellow we are dismissing, he should be priest. He's one of them. He's one of the people actually thinking. No,
but he says they have to work with Baba.
Now Raila Odinga is fine. He's also thinking.
We're coming to you, Daktari. Hold it, Daktari.
Raila Odinga is also thinking, if you ask me, appropriately, because at least he says where I will get the 6,000 is from stopping corruption. That makes sense. Okay. So we want to hear, if you say you will set aside that billion, tell us where you will get the money and how you protect that money from being stolen.
All right, Dr. Masanga, and how will you deal with corruption? One of the key things that becomes or appears to be, the biggest problem of the country, and many have tried to deal with it in vain.
Change the law.
Is it so? Do we fall short of laws that can deal with corruption?
Yes.
In this sense, what exactly?
We have enough laws.
Now listen, you have laws that don't bite.
Well, we don't implement. But
we don't. Even the law that doesn't bite. What is the use of giving Waruke to pay 1 billion shillings fine?
All right.
Then you release him the following morning. What is it? Does that law work? That law doesn't work.
All right.
Let me give a practical example for Kenyans. And Your Excellency, the President is watching me right now because I told them I'm on TV.
Right.
I think
as though the network, right?
Yes, an economic crime. The professor should not just get automatic bail. That is how Rwanda has managed to get itself to defeat. If you have something to do with corruption, you stole some file or you stole some money in a ministry.
You're guilty until proven innocent.
No, you are given. You are not. No. Bail is decided by the judges.
Yes.
The former constitution was very clear that a judge can look at your eyes and say you are sick, you are going to die in prison, go and get treatment. It is not a right in Britain for you who has stolen money, who has raped people, to be given bail and you walk to go and rape people. Isn't Britain a democracy? Who tells you? So change the law to, that people can be given basic rights of their law of bail on some things. But when it touches an economic crime, where millions of dollars or shillings have been lost, that right is not given until the case is exhausted. Look at Waruke. We are going to do under the group. We are going, and so many others, not only Waruke. We are going into another election. Have you ever had somebody very major going into committee? No. Because the law, and at times we blame this Justice Martha Koome and others for nothing. Surely they are given what they have. Change the law, give them the judges the guidelines that anybody who has taken NSF money. You remember that house, that office messenger who had a helicopter, who bought the houses?
Yes.
Who was a boyfriend of one of the judges, the lady judges with a Range Rover. I took a photograph. Yes, I took a photograph of that Range Rover at the Milimani court. And I know the woman, I don't want to mention her here.
And of course, we do not want to sell propaganda as well.
It is not propaganda.
It is the truth.
She was found with the lady near that place near Jomo Kenyatta Airport drinking? Was it propaganda? Where? When I talk, I don't talk propaganda.
All right.
The man had 8 houses.
It's true. It was the public domain. I agree. Yes.
Now is that propaganda?
That's the truth of the matter. Yes.
Where is that case today?
Vanished in thin air. Vanished in thin air.
For Kenyans.
So for me, I am saying.
Very briefly, so Professor can come in as well. Yes.
Yes. For me, Linda, I'm saying one of the problems that Kenya faces is bad law. The BBI had come in to almost clip the wings of corrupt people. If it had passed, it would now make sure that within 4 months you are sentenced or you are acquitted.
You think so, Dr.
Yes, but that thing was in the BBI. Didn't you read the BBI?
Well, I did. But how many times do we have all this enshrined in law, but we actually do not have mechanisms of implementing it?
But Linda, you cannot shoot people on firing squad. President Kenyatta cannot put people on firing squad in Kenya.
Yes. Let's have Professor come in.
And unlike in China, Chinese would have killed so many people.
Yes.
In fact, among these leaders who are vying for presidency, I think it is only Kalonzo who could have survived.
And not Mudavadi? All right. All right. Let's listen to Professor here. Yes, Professor. As we come to a close.
Yes. For the Kenyans to be able to deal with this issue or monster called corruption, they need a very high dose of honesty. Because all you have to do to know exactly who is corrupt in the country is to list people who are mentioned in scandals. These people are all very big fellows in government.
Right.
And very close to the centers of power. And that is why the the laws are ineffective. Not because the laws are not there or that they are not effective. Right. We have most severe laws right now in our books. Okay? But they are not effective because who is doing the corruption is the people at the center of power.
Yeah.
So the Kenyans who need to wake up and decide that, look, we are not interested. When you are stealing alone. Okay? Then not your tribe or not anything else. And I think it's arriving there because for me, the popularity I see with the UNDI in Central Kenya, it actually has nothing to do with the people liking Ruto or loving Ruto. It has everything to do with the people responding to the economic misery caused by who? One of their own.
Okay.
I think this is debugging the idea of Mutuyeto.
Yes.
Now Kenyans know what they need is simply a good president who will take care of them regardless of where the president comes from. Because he simply doesn't pay to my brother as a president. He has not paid. Kibaki left us extremely stable. Okay, now we are somewhere down really, probably further than Moi left us when Kibaki came in. And so this has debunked this idea, let's have our person. It simply is not workable. So people simply need they need a president who will just deliver. And then also the realization that we are in this thing together as a people. That there is no, you see, when you live in an economic polity, you don't go to the supermarket and you are Jubilee and you are told on this corner is Jubilee Ngunza, they are cheaper.
Yeah.
And the other one is opposition and they are more expensive. We suffer same policies. Right now we are suffering same economic situations. All of us together. Once we realize this, the tribe breaks down. They can't now use the tribe anymore. Okay, and this is the beauty also of even this hustle and debate. It's helping a lot because it's cutting across the tribe. It says when you are struggling, regardless of which tribe you come from. So if we can move from there, the tribe will be relevant. Then we can elect leaders based on integrity, which is now not a discussion.
Okay.
You understand? In this election, these people are brilliant. Integrity is not on the table.
Right.
There's somebody trying to do, Mutri is trying very hard to make integrity and discussion. But it's not catching up.
Okay.
You understand?
He doesn't enjoy the numbers as well.
No, he doesn't enjoy the numbers, but it ought to be central. Integrity ought to be central. Because this is our biggest weakness.
All right.
Resources we have.
Dr. in about 45 seconds as we close.
Let me tell my friend Muturi not to give up. You can sing the same song and sing until Africans want that song. They will understand. Integrity, indeed, Professor, is the thing lacking in our African countries. The President of Republic of Kenya cannot be blamed for anything that he has not done. He has tried. But if you look at the parties that are uniting, like the UDA, everybody who has a problem with the Karura Forest, he runs and goes to the toilet, he goes to UDA. If you have a problem with the Karura Forest, your safety is UDA. From this woman from Kirinyaga, UDA. From everybody. Look at them. Look at the way they are. It is everybody who has a problem with the law, against the law. We are creating a society where the den of thieves, den of alleged thieves, we shall be calling them during the campaign a den of alleged thieves. That's why honestly, yes. when you mention the word thief, Arela, I want you to leave this studio with Professor. Go to your Facebook and write thief. You'll see the people who will come for you. They will know that you are talking about Mr. Ruto. Hey, then you ask, how did you know that he was a thief? Everybody comes to insult you, or you go, you are big stomach, you are big this. Okay, but now that is what I have suffered, and I tell the truth. How did they know that he was a thief? We don't know. Now the president said, hallelujah, I will not leave this country in the hands of thieves.
In fact, that is what I wanted us to discuss, but all the same, I guess it's subject for another day.
And then people...
We have to close, Dr.
Quickly concluded that the thief was Ruto. You saw even Eden Duale. You know, if you ask Eden Duale, the helicopters that were bought using Cameroon money, who is the owner of those helicopters? Nyanya Mufanya investigations, you journalists from Kenya.
Well, I hope that if, again, those ones who have a problem with few individuals, then they should proceed to Karura, like you rightfully put it. But all the same, thank you so much, Dr. Masanga.
I don't have any problem with Kinoti. Because if Kinoti has a problem, he can look for me.
No, the argument is the president said that if you have a problem with someone, you know where to go. Karura is the way to go. Go and report, and of course, let's have investigations commence. Thank you so much.
I have nothing to report. I want to tell Zakayo. There is a Zakayo in Kenya. Zakayo.
The tax man. All right, we close it. We close it, Daktari. Daktari, we have to close it.
He will be forgiven when he returns everything he has stolen.
All right, Dr. Masanga, thank you so much. We are looking forward to hear from you on that other side as we get to know what gains then we'll make on this very important conversation of the climate in the global fraternity. We close it at that. Dr. David Masanga joining us all the way